Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gayle Carson, that's Gayle, Gayle Carson 13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. My guest today is Victoria Lowell. She's a financial advocate, coach, international best-selling author of Empower Your Worth, A Woman's Guide to Increasing Self-Worth and Net Worth, and the founder of Empowerment Worth, a financial education platform that empowers women to become active participants in their own financial future and well-being. In late 2018, she left Wall Street and followed her passion to help women assert themselves fiscally. Her expertise in this field has led to her hosting podcasts, conferences, webinars, motivational speaking, and being a guest on many TV, radio, and podcast shows. Welcome, Victoria.
Hi, Gayle. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here today.
Thank you. Well, here we are, 2020, with a mix of things going on in our lives. And you say that women are still abdicating their financial power to their male counterparts. Why do you think that is?
I am a true believer that it comes down to nurture. I think that women, unfortunately, have been getting and are still getting this narrative fed to them from the time that they are little that tells them that they're not good with money, they're not good with numbers, and they feel almost that when they do marry or partner with someone, they should give up their financial power or their financial voice to that partner and let them run the financial stuff. And I can tell you, Fast Company had a great article in their February 2019 edition that talked about the differences where parents spoke to boys and girls differently about money and risk-taking and investing in the market. So there are a lot of studies that say that this is what's going on.
You know, that's so interesting because when I got married, I said to my husband, now this is many, 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 many moons ago, I said to him, I said, I really want to handle the money because I didn't like the way he handled money. And I said, I really want to handle the money. And he said, thank goodness, I hate doing that. And when he had a job, he eventually went to his own business, but when he had a job, he came home every Friday, handed me his paycheck, and I handled all the money. So I luckily was never in that position. But you also say that there is something called the mommy penalty. Well, what is that? I would think it's because women don't work or something.
Well, you know what? The mommy penalty, and I hate using that phrase. I like to call it the caregiver penalty because really it's not just if you're a mom. Quite frankly, women's trajectory in their careers tend to see them at times stepping back or leaning out, if you want to use that terminology, from their careers. And they take time off to either raise children or care for an ailing parent. And that causes them to lose the opportunity to not just grow in a career path, but also to see promotions, to see salary increases that come from time, and to have retirement savings that men tend to have because they never really step out from working when a child is born into a family.
That's interesting in terms of women. I can see where if they've never worked or, if they quit working when they have kids, it's an issue. I really can see that. Of course, here I am still working and, I'll probably work until they drag me out of here. But, there's also this, I think, misconception about divorce because half the time you hear people say, well, she got everything and he says she left me with nothing. And then you hear the other side of the fence that says he took everything. He's with somebody else. They're living a life of joy. And I'm stuck with the kids and we can't pay our rent and so forth. So, there's two sides of the street here that we're talking about. So what are the trends with women abdicating their financial freedom if they do get a divorce, and how do they play that game?
Well, I happen to be a certified divorce financial analyst, and I've taken a long time looking at divorce and seeing that. And I think that presently, right now, we have a very unique situation with spousal support because it's being taxed for the first time. So, or being taxed to the person that pays it as opposed to being taxed to the person that received it. What I see when it comes to divorce is that women, especially if they've abdicated their financial power, if they haven't been involved with the finances, they tend to be shocked when a divorce happens. A lot of times they have overestimated what the family worth is. They're surprised to see that they are very leveraged as a family and that the assets just aren't there. The other thing that really worries me with women is the understanding, and this is really crucial because everybody says, I want a 50-50 split. No, you don't necessarily want a 50-50 split. Not all assets are created equal. We need to have a game plan in divorce. We need to know where it is that you want to see yourself 5, 10, 15 years after divorce. And how do we get the assets needed to get you there? The big trend right now is the gray divorce. If you are over 50, the averages, it's double from people under 50, over 50 getting divorced. So what do? We need to really at 50, if you're thinking of getting divorced, think about this because it's really hard after you have turned that age and you're closer to retirement to really reaccrue assets in the way that you can when you get divorced at 20 or 30. Divorce historically benefits the man. Even if they say, my wife took me to the cleaners, she got everything. It's not necessarily true. Why? Because women don't tend to, especially if they were not working, get divorced. Now they have to go back into the workforce. They're not going to be making a lot of money. While the man, he's on a growth trajectory with his career that the woman just isn't. So that's not necessarily true when they say that.
So you said something about that was it child support or alimony that gets taxed now? Didn't I mean, if a person earns an income, whether they've got alimony or support, they've always had their income tax. So what's different about this new law, and when did this happen?
In 2019, the Trump administration actually, it went into effect actually in 2019, I'm pretty sure. And what it changed was it used to be that if you were paying spousal support, you could take that off your income, so you would not be taxed on that. And then your ex-spouse would pay income tax on that spousal support. Well, that made sense because that person was probably paying at a lower tax bracket. That all changed. Now, even if you are paying somebody spousal support, you are still being taxed on that as income. And the person receiving it is no longer being taxed on it. The idea being that, it was better to tax the person who was more well off than to penalize the person that was not as well off by having them pay the income tax. It has really led to a situation now where, quite frankly, it tends to be men don't want to pay spousal support. So you're seeing a lot more of lump figure or lump sum settlements coming in. And that to me is actually a little frightening because when you receive a lot of money, a lot of assets, all of a sudden, if you're not involved in your finances, it's like having sudden money. It's like winning the lottery. You tend to make a lot of mistakes with it. So that's why it's really important right now, if you're getting divorced and you have a spouse that says, I don't want to pay spousal support because of the tax situation, to get with somebody who can guide you financially with what to do with those assets.
So what about child support? Are you talking about both child support and alimony, or just
no? I am just talking about alimony. Child support works completely differently. It's going to be basically assessed by the state. They're going to look at a table. They're going to take some other factors into account, and you will have a child support payment to make. Child support quite frankly, should never be commingled with spousal support. There was a time that people would do that to kind of get away from paying taxes. That's something that, somebody who's an accountant can really explain much better than probably I can. But the honest to God truth is that it does not child support. Child support is still there, and it has not been changed at all.
So now we come to the fact that there are more and more women who are having to pay spousal support because they're making more money than their husbands are, or at least that's what the husbands say. So how have you seen the tables turn in recent years?
It's becoming more and more common. Honest to God, it is something that surprised me when I started to see it at the rate at which it was just being handed out. I see women who are very, very angry to be paying spousal support much more than their male counterparts. Women are very angry at this, especially when a lot of them, what they feel is that, my husband could go out and make more money. He is choosing not to. You see it a lot with women who tend to own their own businesses. And they maybe employed the husband. The husband was part of that business, and now there is a situation where he has to go out and find another job. That's where you see it. I think it's just a trend, and I think it's a symbol or a side effect of the fact that women are making more money. We are establishing businesses more and more. You're starting to see that, and as we grow in the economy as women, as we grow in our wealth, you're going to see more of it.
Well, I certainly know that I know of several people that have had to do that. So it's very curious. But in the gray divorce, where we're talking about people 50 and above, is it more that the man pays? Is it more that the woman pays? What have you seen in the gray divorces that separate them from, the younger divorces that you've seen?
Well, yeah, definitely in the gray divorce, you're seeing when it's appropriate and when it is warranted by the state. Because remember, each state will have different laws governing alimony or maintenance payments or spousal support. Either three of those terms can be used for it. So what you will see is usually the man paying something to the tune of permanent spousal support or permanent maintenance, where you will be writing a check monthly to your spouse, usually to the woman, for to be able to keep their lifestyle the way it is. Now, I do tell everybody, because there's this common belief that, I have to be kept in the way that I was accustomed to. Yes, but not if it is to the prejudice of the other spouse. They're not going to give you all this money in spousal support and not be able to maintain themselves. It is there to help you. There is never, I think, in a judge's mind, the idea that this is going to be the sole source of income for you. And that needs to be really clear. And that's what you see with the gray divorce. And that's why I go back to, we need to look at those assets. We need to look at the retirement accounts. We need to look at all of that and make sure that you have enough money, enough cash flow coming in to really maintain yourself.
Now, you also have a story about your own personal trajectory in the business world. So what is that?
Well, I started off, I was the prototypical stay-at-home mom. My husband and I got married very, very young. And I took some time off from my career very early on because we had children. And I went back into the workforce around the time that my oldest daughter was 11. I went back to get a little bit more education. And then I went back into working. And I started working in finance. Started off as a client service associate, worked my way up to financial advisor. And that was really the motivation for me as I started working with women. It was women that I had as clients, that our team had as clients, that inspired me to become a financial advisor, and then inspired me to start Empowered Worth, because they were telling me how much they felt that they couldn't have a voice in the conversation. They didn't want to ask a stupid question. They didn't know what the terms were that were being thrown around when they were meeting with financial advisors and discussing finance, whether they were by themselves or with their husbands. And I wanted to create something that would help women feel empowered to step to the financial table and take their seat and take their place.
Wow. So that really got you started on what you're doing now. So what can we do to start empowering ourselves right now?
I'm so glad you asked that. In my book, I actually give some great tips on that. The first thing I tell women is know your numbers. Know what your credit score is. A lot of women don't realize, especially if you are married and you are not working, a lot of women give up their credit cards and they don't realize that just because they have a wallet full of plastic credit cards, that none of those accounts are in their name. Those cards are in their names, but the accounts aren't, and they have zero credit score. They had zero credit history. Make sure you know what your credit score is, what your credit history is. The next thing I tell women is just don't sign those income tax documents when they are put in front of you. Read through them. If you don't know that, get with a financial mentor or even ask the accountant who's preparing them. Can you walk me through these? I want to understand why I'm signing them for two reasons. First, you are legally responsible for what's on those accounts. And secondly, it is better than any novel you will read. It will tell you things that it will tell women things that they never thought they like. A lot of women cannot tell you what their spouse makes yearly. They have no idea. They just know that everything gets paid. So you're going to find that out there. You're going to find out what investment accounts you have. You're going to find out if there's any properties. You're going to learn a lot about maybe the S corps or the LLC that your husband may have. If you're filing jointly, it's all in there. You just need to know how to read it. And then I tell women, get yourself into the financial world. Start by reading a great blog. Start by taking a course. We offer those at Empowered Worth. They're on demand. You can take them on your iPad, and they're really simple. And just learn the jargon. There's a lot of technical terms in finance meant to confuse you, but it's not rocket science. You can figure it out.
You know, it is interesting that how many women do not know what their husband's financial circumstances are. I mean, what stocks are owned, where there are investments, what if they have property, what the property income could be. I mean, just a whole bunch of things. And I'm always amazed that if something happens to the husband, that the wife is just left, I don't know what to do, and or very often in debt, because she has signed all these documents and they become her bills and her debts as well. So I was very fortunate that when my husband passed away, I had been handling most of the money anyway, so I knew what was coming. But it's tough. It's tough on some people. So you also talk about having plans early on. So yeah, I know you're going to tell me it's never too early to start planning and it's never too early to start learning. But what do you do if you are, let's say I'm single and I'm 21, I just got out of college, I'm getting my first job. I'm not making a ton of money, but I'm doing okay. What do I need to do?
The first thing you need to do, first and foremost, budget. Your budget is the foundation to any great financial plan. What are we going to do with that budget? What are we going to do first? We're going to pay ourselves. Before we go off and we buy that incredible pair of shoes or that amazing bag that we want to have, we are going to take whatever we feel comfortable. I always say, let's start with maybe a 10% if you can do that, or a max or a little less. But let's save first. And let's save 6 to 8 months of what your need are. What you need in that budget. I'm not talking about going out. I'm not talking about those extras like manicures and hair coloring and all that. Your needs, your rent or your mortgage, your car payment, so that we have those covered in the event that you should lose your job. We want to make sure that you can cover your bills. The next thing I always tell people is if your company has a 401k, get involved, put it in, put as much as you feel comfortable putting in, especially if they match it, because you're already making 100% on that savings right there. They're matching it, and everything else is growth. And you can do that. Put it in something that's growing. If you're in your 20s, you can afford to take the risk at that age. And let's just start with that. I think with just those 3 simple things, you're starting off fantastically.
It's so interesting, really, Victoria, because when I started in business, I was 21 years old and I started in business and there were no credit cards. And so how did I build up credit? I was great on the layaway system. I found certain stores that I liked their clothes, and I had to look good because I had my own business every day. So I started putting clothes on layaway, and I faithfully every week paid a certain amount of money. And I built up a tremendous credit history with layaway clothes. But that was the only way I could do it at those times. And of course, it was so much easier then with the banking regulations. When my husband and I used to go to the bank for a loan because we bought a lot of property, we could do it so easily. Now
Mm-hmm.
it's like Fort Knox. I mean, you really have to have somebody advising you as you go along because it's gotten so complicated with all the new rules and regulations. So if you were advising a young couple today, would you say the same thing? Create the budget, put a certain amount away, don't eat out, not that you can now so easily, but would you tell them the same thing you told that 21-year-old?
Yes, I would. And I would add one more thing. I am a big proponent of getting some financial counseling before marriage. It's really hard. Be honest with each other. Be really honest about debt. I see it time and time again with new couples. You are not honest about the debt that you are carrying in terms of student loans. That needs to be out on the table. And I'm also a big proponent of prenup, prenup, prenup. Whether you have money or you don't have money, get a prenup.
On both sides.
Yes. Yes.
Interesting, because the answer is, well, we're going to be married forever, and don't you trust me? And of course, all of that. But yeah, prenups were not around when I got married, but I can see the value of them. Well, we have just about 5 minutes left, Victoria, and I want to make sure we get everything out. So where can people find you? I don't know if you have a gift for anybody. What is the best way to contact you?
So we are on the web, of course, www.empoweredworth.com. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all at Empowered Worth. And we do have a free gift. We do a 30-minute free consultation, financial consultation for anyone who would want it. The code is Gayle. So just put that in there and they can get a 30-minute free consultation with me to talk about any financial decision they're thinking of making or problem that they want to see how they can tackle. I'm here for them.
Well, you can tell Victoria knows what she's talking about, folks. So if you have any doubts or if you don't know, and it sounds like, she is somebody that, if you are someone she described who needs an education in financial learning, she's the person to contact. I think you'll be very pleased with what you learn from her. And of course, if you're trying to reach me, I'm at spunkyoldbroad.com. My courses are at sobuniversity.com. I have a Facebook group that's free for women 50 plus, SOB Virtual Club. You can find us under groups. And I've got a store now too online, so you can buy a lot of different things. And I'm so proud of my coffee cups. They've got my favorite sayings on them. So if you are a coffee or tea drinker, you can get one of those and you can kind of think of me every morning. But, Victoria, you have really given our listeners a tremendous amount of information. And I think the most amazing thing, well, not the most, but one of the most amazing things is the statistics of how many people in the gray division are getting divorced. You would think that after 20, 30 years together, maybe it was the kids that were holding them together or who knows what. But I mean, that's an amazing statistic. Did they ever say why it's happening?
Yes, yes. They actually think it is linked to longevity. As we are living older, we are now seeing the kids go off to school. A lot of times in your 50s, you start to see family members pass away, your parents pass away, your friends start to pass away. And you start to think, do I really want to be in this marriage for maybe an additional 30, 40 years? So they're reassessing their lives. 40 is the new 20, 50 is the new 30.
Wow. Really interesting. Well, thank you, Victoria, so much for being with us today. Hopefully, our listeners got a lot out of it. I want to thank you so much for being with us and congratulations on everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me today. It was my pleasure.
Hi, this is Dr. Gayle, and I wanted you to know I have a whole bunch of other things to offer you. If you go to spunkyoldbroad.com, you will see an array of SOB stuff for sale. and all our latest products and additions. If you're interested in getting on TV, I have a brand new course, Get on TV. And if you want to start your own business, you'll want my SOB Guide to Business Success. I know you'll love them all. I guarantee it.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at gaylecarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbroad.com to see the resources I have for you.